Hello and welcome to this episode of Akrinos Access. I'm Eric Matei, joined here today by Trudi Charest, as we're going to be exploring all the facets of how to go about growing your modern optometry brand. Trudi is the co-founder of Marketing for ECPs, and so excited to have her here and just share some insights around what is getting to be increasingly an important aspect of growing a thriving practice in this modern environment. So, Trudi, thank you so much for joining us here on Akrinos Access.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
So we've got a lot to get to. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. And let's start with this. Let's define brand for our audience out there. When we refer to brand and growing brand, what exactly are we referring to?
Well, there's so many ways you can kind of describe brand, but when I think of what we do, and that's growing an optometry brand, or what I do, which is growing my brand, they're a little different from each other. A business brand, like an optometry practice brand, what it is the personality, the business, the philosophies, the everything that goes into describing that particular practice. And when we are trying to grow a brand, what we're trying to do is tell the story of that business.
So in that regard, I mean, why is it important?
Well, it's important for a lot of reasons. We all know brands. We all remember brands. And so you all know when you see a Nike logo, you all know when you see a certain jingle, and it's because somebody has taught you that's associated to a brand. And so why is it important to build your brand, and why is it important to tell the story of your business and get people to remember your brand is because branding is part of retention. And so when we build a brand, we're teaching patients, especially, to remember you as the person and as the business they're going to choose for their eye care.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose in the context of that, it's very much a process of discovery, right? As far as kind of figuring out and really understanding where you fit in, where you can really perhaps own a niche or own a value proposition or what have you. So, what do you find or then some of the keys to that process of discovery, right?
Like how we build the brand, how we understand a brand.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, and I say that from the standpoint that we connect with doctors every day from truly from coast to coast and in Canada, right?
Yeah.
By the way, this is so cool. I don't know if everyone in the audience knows. So you're in Calgary, Canada.
I'm in Canada. You can probably tell by my accent. I'm told I have an accent.
And I'm down here in New Orleans. And this is it's always awesome to connect with folks anywhere. And everyone's it's nice to be able to connect in this manner. But that being said, we connect with doctors every day across the US and Canada. And a lot of doctors these days want to truly differentiate themselves, whether that's through a specialty of care or perhaps some other service or materials offerings. So why don't you expand a little bit about kind of discovering truly what your brand is and where you should really focus your attention?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you kind of two stories. And one is, obviously we work with practices across North America. We're a North American agency. And you're right when you talk about that practices across North America are completely different from each other. And I think right away as a marketer, I see an opportunity to uncover what kind of practice you are and understand what makes you different from, the practice down the street, the chain in your geography, the mass merchandiser, what do you kind of hang your hat on? And that's part of the brand. I want to learn the personality of the owner and the practice and the staff, and maybe some of their philosophies of what they believe in. And then we start to understand how we can start to tell a story, because every day we're marketing different practices, and we want to make sure we're marketing them, not just generic marketing. And so that's kind of the first part. And then when we're talking to practices, we truly do a business consultation, and we find out where they're at in their practice, what their life cycle is, but also where they're looking to grow. A lot, maybe they're going more medical, maybe they're going more retail. Maybe they're very niche, like you and I were just kind of talking about. Maybe they've gone into a vision therapy dedicated practice. And so what we do is truly learn the story, and that's the brand story we're going to tell.
Sure. Yeah. So on that note, and I suppose, and I can't believe I failed to mention this in the opening, but Trudi also, so the digital sales rep, I mean, this is like become a bestseller. I mean, truly. And I know in reading and connecting with a lot of folks in my network that have gotten it and read it and connecting on it and throwing out ideas around it, I suppose now is where a lot of these universal themes start to come out, right? So from the standpoint of our audience here, right, the private practice owner that's looking to grow and scale their practice and grow their brand, let's explore this concept of think like a marketer. And I know you have like an entire chapter here in the book devoted to it, but it resonated with me so much in the book. Share with our audience here about thinking like a marketer about your optometry practice.
Yeah, well, so let's just preface the book. I wrote a book in 2021, launched it and published it in February 2022. And the book is called The Digital Sales Rep, but it's really a business book. There's so many lessons for any business owner.
Absolutely, yeah.
If I was probably to rename it now, I'd call it the Digital Business Book or something. But
should I go grab a mark? We could grab a mark slot right now and rename the book.
Well,
right here.
I've already got another book in mind. But
Love it.
Part of it was about teaching people in sales how to build a personal brand online, how to build your online presence. And when I start to take those same concepts to, let's say, an optometry practice, and I was just having this conversation with an optometrist owner yesterday. I'm like, your personal brand is almost as important these days as your business brand, because who do they search for? Sometimes they might search, ABC optometry, but the chances are they're also searching Dr. Smith and optometrist. And so in a lot of cases, some of your professional profile will show up as well. And it's why you have to build a brand for yourself as well as your business.
Wow.
And so that's kind of the first thing like a marketer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. So that being said, if we go back to, I mean, from the book, but certainly something that applies to every facet of any business, no matter what you're looking to grow, right? A medical practice or a side hustle business, whatever it may be.
Yeah, everything.
That is the digital road.
Yes.
And navigating that. So share a bit on that front.
Well, if you read the book, which you should, it tells the story of what happened to my business in the lockdown of the pandemic. But it certainly started for me before that. I've been building my personal brand online. I've been building my network online. But in a pandemic, when everything shut down, we were forced, all of us, every one of you were forced to go digital. And, whether you were very digitally adept before or you were now just, thrown into the mix, everyone needed to now learn how to do virtual meetings and look at things online. And even all your patients were now all on all of your online presence. And you either realized you had a good platform and a good online presence and a good, digital footprint, or you didn't. And a lot of people realized, and a lot of businesses realized, that the new road is digital. But also from a sales perspective, I'm business development for my marketing agency. I can't get to trade shows anymore. I can't get to conferences. I can't talk to my, clients easily. I can't talk to potential, clients easily. That I knew I had to take my online branding, my online presence, my online prospecting to a new level, and everything became digital. And the thing that I quickly saw, even coming out of the pandemic, is the road is not going back to traditional. There's a mix and a hybrid now, but the road is very digital.
Absolutely.
For businesses, for salespeople, for, really anyone now, everything is going to have a digital forefront before anything traditional.
I agree. But that said, so I agree, definitely. But then in the context of that, realizing that some of the tactics to market and grow the brand have changed, right? Going from and it's fascinating to see and kind of witness this change from kind of like, here things are like pushy sales tactics to kind of more like this no pressure, informative empowerment. Why don't you speak a little bit to that? Because that's definitely in this whole vein of thinking like a marketer on the digital road, no pressure tactics in the context, right?
I know it's one of my favorite chapters in the book. And it's also been a philosophy of my own for years. Before I was ever in sales, I've been in eye care my whole life. I grew up in the business. I've been in multiple different sectors and multiple different, roles in the industry. And every role I've been in where I learned, that what do people need is they need resources and help. A lot of the challenges that an optical has, an optometry practice has, an eye care professional in general has, are pretty similar across the board. Right now it's staffing. 20 years ago it was staffing, and it was finding staff. And so what I learned a long time ago was, when I'm a resource and when I can be helpful, people want to do business with me. And I brought that to the digital world or to the marketing world. And when I create something free and give it away, people are, more than happy to give me their information and, to get some of these helpful resources. The difference being where a lot of, marketers or salespeople go wrong is in they give away something wonderful and then they just spam people with really salesy messages, and we all hate that. And I don't want to do that. I never want to be that salesperson or that marketer. So I learned a long time ago is give. And, at some point you've developed enough of a relationship and given them enough value that you can ask for, a meeting, or you can say, do you want to learn more about what we do? But don't do it automated and don't do it so salesy. So give things away, have no pressure, no obligations to have to, talk to you or have to take part of anything else.
I love it. I love everything you just laid out there, and it conjures up. I mean, I think it also conjures up like the role of like an organic relationship, and what kind of nurtures the organic relationship, organic content. And I know you all have, I mean, look, in marketing for ECPs, a ton of really great resources and stuff like that. Could go down, we could have like hours, we could have episodes, we could have an entire series of episodes around just content type stuff. But yeah. I think the important thing there is to kind of tie that together as far as promoting the brand, thinking like a marketer in the digital world. No pressure tactics.
Yeah.
Education, empowerment, position yourself as the expert.
Yeah.
And when the time is right, folks are going to come to you.
I just, because of the book, I've obviously had a lot of interest from organizations. Come and train my sales team. I was just doing that this week. And, they're like, well, what can we give a practice? And I'm like, you probably already have a ton of resources from your company because they're a big organization. But I'm like, the easiest thing to do is ask your clients, your practices, the practice owners, ask them what their challenges are right now. And so they're like, oh, well, if their challenges right now, they're having a hard time finding staff, how can I help them with that? And I'm like, okay, well, let's brainstorm. How can you help them with that? And we ended up coming up with 10 different ways that they could help them with finding staff. And I'm like, right away, you become a resource. And a lot of it didn't necessarily mean they had to create something. It meant they had to know where somebody could post a job, know their, current state association, what were the opportunities to post a job for an optometrist, and, get to understand what are some of the things you could recommend for this particular challenge. It doesn't mean you have to go create something. And you're still a resource. You're still an expert. You're still helping them. And they were excited because they're like, that is something I can do. And it doesn't go too far from a practice either. So practices are like, well, this doesn't really apply to me. I'm like, it does, because your patients need resources. Your patients need help. So, what could you create? You could create a blog on, why my eyes are so dry and tired. And you are creating a resource that they could potentially find online that's going to drive them to you, that, is going to show them you have something that can help them. And so when we talk about being a resource, it can apply to any one of us in any position.
Absolutely. I love it. So, okay. So from here, it's then a matter of we're thinking like a marketer, digital world, no pressure tactics. Okay. Then it's a matter of scalability. And I know in the book, you talk about a lot of really cool concepts. 10+10 system, growing personal brand, maybe application to growing practice brand. Talk about that. Talk about scaling in kind of this digital world as you're growing that brand.
Well, there's numerous ways you can look at scalability. One is when I start talking any of the concepts and any of my tips, everybody gets right away and they're like, that sounds like work. And I'm like, well, being really successful is a little bit of work. I'm not going to lie. I didn't get to where I am without some hard work. But the one thing I also teach in the book is you don't have to do every one of my chapters to the exact specifications. If you want to be really successful, you should. But you can do one thing. And like every single day I'm showing people, you may arrive to an appointment early. You got 15 minutes, you're sitting in your car. You could probably connect with 5 people on LinkedIn. You could, if you're a practice owner and you have a patient who's, no-showed you, you have 30 minutes to do something. You could go on and fix your LinkedIn profile and start, making it searchable by patients who are looking for you. There's so many different things you can do in a few minutes a day. Now, the other scalability part is outsource stuff. If you don't feel like you can create something, you can write blogs, you can, come up with ways to make resources, then outsource it. There's companies like mine, but there's also lots of other resources out there. Take advantage. It's no different than when I'm talking to an optometry practice about marketing. And, you're trying to save money by not outsourcing marketing. You're literally losing money because patients are finding you. And so know when you should get some help with something that can literally grow your business.
Love it. Awesome. A lot of great pearls here as far as looking at scalability and how to get out there and grow that brand in the digital world. So let's let's go ahead then and kind of, why don't you share a bit about, because we've touched on so many great things as far as like how to go about growing your modern optometry brand. A lot of great pearls from the book, which I mean, I tell you, Tree, like this is amazing. It really is. And I know a lot of folks that have gleaned a lot of great value as myself, and bestseller, right? I mean,
in 8 countries, in
8
two
countries.
business categories,
Oh my gosh.
in sales
So
and
awesome.
business. I know
That's super cool.
It's done really well. And, I'm excited. I think the feedback is even more exciting than how well it's done on Amazon. The biggest, success for me out of this book is the fact that people like yourself have reached out after reading it and literally said, 1, it's an easy read. You can read this book in 2 or 3 hours. 2, I got lots of tips out of it, no matter whether you're in sales, you're in business, you're an optometrist, you're an optician. I've got so many people who have said, I learned so much from your book and I'm applying
Absolutely.
it. And it's easy to apply something. And I give them actual steps and actual homework. There's no reason why you shouldn't walk away with growing some business out of this book. But I also make it fun. And I tell some fun stories about, my life and my career and my sales and fun things that have happened to me and are part of the story that I'm telling.
Love it. Love it. So, hey, to kind of pull it all together, for practice owners, eye care practice owners that want to grow their brand, what kind of cool things do you guys do at Marketing for ECPs, and how can folks get in touch with you?
Well, I love to give my company a plug for sure. So thank you. Marketing for ECPs, we started it in 2015. And, I come from the eye care industry. I'm a licensed optician. So I tout first and foremost that our company is eye care specific, eye care trained. I make sure all of our team truly understands the industry. So that's one of the first things, and people love that about working with us. And 2, we started out as a very different custom agency, and we are still that, but we have acquired another agency in the US. So we offer both very custom and very templated. So we have both options now. So we now have price points for everyone. But if there's the one thing I can say that I feel still differentiates us from other practices or other agencies is that we are very medical. We're medical marketers. We're helping practices grow that medical side, which we're seeing so many invest in, dry eye, myopia management, vision therapy, sports vision, concussion management, and truly getting them to understand how to grow it digitally. The next thing we do is nothing is cookie cutter recommendations. We learn about the practice because every practice is different. So the first thing we do is understand where you're at. So a cold start practice needs something completely different than a very 30-year-old established practice does for marketing. And where you are in your life cycle of patient acquisition or growing different parts of the practice requires different marketing. So we understand that first, and then we build a plan. The plan often starts with a website because a practice website is the foundation to all marketing. If you have an old, outdated website, which I see every day, by the way, and it's where 98% of your patients go to at some point, new or current patients, and then you're adding marketing to it, you're wasting some of your marketing dollars. So have a great website and then understand what marketing works for different things. So for example, the first thing I ask a practice is, do you like, tell me about your schedule, tell me about your capacity, because the easiest way to grow a practice is to fill the schedule. So if you have holes in your schedule, don't go doing specific marketing, fill the schedule first, because you fill a schedule, your practice grows. When the schedule's full, then we look at branding. And this is where we get into the branding. So we go after patient acquisition first, fill the schedule. Then we look at how else can we grow the name of the practice? How can we get people to remember it? How can we grow different parts of the practice like dry eye or vision therapy? Or maybe I just want to drive more people into the optical. And so what we do is we understand that, and then we add marketing strategies specifically for that kind of growth.
Amazing stuff. I mean, really, every facet of this conversation has been really, really incredible, right? I mean, considering the role of brand to a practice, the role of brand to an individual as they're growing their personal brand. I think also something else that you touched on big time there, Trudi, also is growing personal brand and realizing how that will influence professional brand. And again, remarkable things in which you laid out in the digital sales rep, just through and through. Really great read. I guess to pull it all together, how can folks connect with you if they want to continue the conversation or connect with you regarding what you do with marketing for ECPs?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as you would probably imagine, I have a lot of ways to get a hold of me online. From LinkedIn to Facebook to Instagram to the Marketing for ECPs website. If you're a practice owner, interested in marketing, I would say first and foremost are myself and my team. We offer a completely free audit and consultation, and it's no pressure. Honestly, it's no pressure. We will audit your entire website, marketing, social media, online presence, ranking on Google, and show you everything and show you where you're really doing well and where you have an opportunity. It's so valuable that I tell people all the time, take advantage of this audit. Whether you ever work with us or not, I'll teach you something about your marketing. So you can just go to marketingforecps.com and there's a contact us or book a demo, and that audit is free. And if you are somebody like Eric, who's maybe interested in the book, you can get it on amazon.com. It's available in print, audio, and ebook or digital. And then if you're interested in learning more about it, I also have a website, which is thedigitalsalesrep.com.
Awesome. Well, Trudi Charest, thank you so much for joining us here at Akrinos Access. As we were talking about growing your modern optometry brand, for our viewers out there, if you want more great content like this, subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can always find awesome things at akrinos.com, and definitely follow us on the socials. Trudi, thank you again so much for joining us here at Access, and keep doing great things.
Thank you so much.